And where would you want to launch a book? A book about history and charity. Where would you want to go? And to me, this building is kind of the ideal place. I don't know if you know much about it. St. Bride Foundation. Our offices are on St. Bride Street, and it's just across from us. But St. Bride Foundation, set up in 1891 as a recreational and social centre for London's Fleet Street. Its flourishing print industry and publishing trade was going strong. The newspapers have gone, haven't they? The publishers have gone. It's a shame to walk up Fleet Street and to see that history of this area has changed so much. Yet this foundation remains. And once again, it's a vibrant part of the community here, a centre for the creative arts, providing not only its unique library and archive print, but also a whole range of materials in media and design, and creating this lively fringe theatre programme, a wide range of events of all kinds. I didn't know that New York had a fringe. I knew about Edinburgh, I didn't know about New York. And I didn't know that it was performed here, and that's really confusing. And the only reason I know that is that the signs are still in the men's toilet. I'm delighted to be here. There's an opportunity to be with you this evening on this new book from CAF. CAF has published books over many, many years. But this is one that we haven't done in this area for a long time. Public good by private means. We have a long history of our own, right back to the 1920s. In 90 years, we've been encouraging charitable giving and philanthropy in the UK and right around the world. Our focus, now as it's ever been, is to ensure the long-term health of civil society. A concept which we understand that so many people in other countries and increasingly in our own country perhaps struggle to relate to. Today there are real and pressing issues facing charities and donors, those who want to stand behind the work of charities. There's controversy about how charities are organised, about how philanthropists spend their money. Today, philanthropists are big news. They are the people who appear in the newspapers. They're the ones who get the TV programmes produced about them. The highest profile can be hugely powerful. Some have funds at their disposal that rival the wealth of whole countries. And they have an immense opportunity to change the world for the better, to influence events, and of course to make some very big mistakes too. An organisation that works with hundreds of thousands of donors worldwide, CAF feels that this is something that we should explore. Of course, none of this is new, I'm afraid. We deal with today's challenges and look to the future, but we mustn't forget that vital past that we had. We wanted to look at what the successes were and the spectacular failures. We wanted to see what the past could teach us and help us to live through to the issues of philanthropy today. And not only does this book take us on a fascinating journey through the rich history of philanthropy and charity in Britain, it presents us with clear messages and fresh insights, which I believe are invaluable today in the world that we live in, the debates, the structures, the problems that we face. Well, Rhodri, he's the man. He's the one who did this work. He sat in the corner of the office and thought deep thoughts. And then he woke up and he wrote them all down. And he tries to help us to see what history can teach us. And I hope you'll take it away and enjoy reading it. It's a great read. It's a colourful read. It may not be something you want to take to the beach, but you might. But please, take the time to go through it, to find out what it will teach you. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts about the book. What you think of it. Are we doing the right thing? Is this where you want us to be putting our effort, our resources, to think these things through and to bring this on a further journey into the future. Because I want to see how we can build deeper, stronger, better foundations to secure a thriving and growing charitable culture in this country, and actually around the world too. Anyway, I've said enough. Rhodri, can you explain it all to us in a few words?
Thank you very much for those kind words, John. And thank you, first of all, to everyone who's made it along here this evening. It's very nice to see so many people that I have met before and so many people that I haven't yet met, but hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to after I've finished getting away up here. I hope everybody's got their free copy of the book, and if you haven't got it yet, please do get one from the back. I can actually confirm that since the book went on sale today on Amazon, we've almost managed to sell out a paperback copy, so people have actually been paying the full price of £18 for it, so it is a good freebie, it's actually worth something. I also should apologise if you find the AV distracting. I think it's images from the book going around, cycling around. I'm not going to speak to them, and I just hope it's not like having sport on in the background. I find it distracting. What I'm planning on doing just for the next 10 minutes or so, because I don't want to take up an enormous amount of time, is just to give you a bit of background about how the book came about, rather than trying to give you a full précis of what's in it. Because I think that will help give you a sense of what I think the purpose of the book is, and what I hope you can all get from it by reading it. But I will also give you a taster of some of the key themes and content in it. Before I do that, I just want to do a few quick thank yous. Firstly, I should say thank you to Kath for being a sufficiently enlightened employer to support me to write and publish a book, which is a very nice thing for them to have done. And I should hasten to add that I did do that alongside my day job, and I have published other reports since then and done lots of back and forth, so it hasn't been just doing this. And obviously my hope is that the book is of interest to you, but also of value to Kath. I want it to be a source of ideas and arguments that we can use to inform all of our work and our policy positions. And if it fails to do that, then at the very least it's a very pleasingly colourful piece of marketing collateral which we can take out and give to clients, so that would be nice. I also want to say a big thank you to the team at Alliance Publishing Trust, who I worked with on getting this published. To David and Laura, and also to Ben, the designer, who I don't know if any of you are here yet. Hello, Laura, I won't say hello too often. It was a pleasure to work with them, and they were really great in helping me to turn a slightly unwieldy manuscript into what I think looks like an absolutely great finished product, so a big thanks to them. And also just to reiterate John's thanks to the St Bride Foundation for hosting this event. It's a lovely building with a rich history. I was only slightly disappointed when I found out that one of the other rooms that's available but was sadly too small is the Passmore Edwards room, because one of the case studies in the book is of John Passmore Edwards, who was a very interesting Victorian philanthropist and publisher. And that would have been quite neat, but sadly by highlighting it I pointed out that it's not neat. So just getting on to what I wanted to talk about. Where did this book come from? Why have I written it? I should say I've been thinking about wider issues to do with the role of philanthropy for the best part of a decade, because that's been the kind of crux of all the jobs that I've had. So issues like the interplay between philanthropy and the state, the impact that philanthropy has on democracy. So all of this stuff has been bubbling away in the background for a long time. Then about 2 years ago, at the start of 2014, we made a decision at CAF to try and turn some of the policy work we've been doing and the blog we've been running, Giving Thoughts, into something that was more like an in-house think tank, so making it a kind of standalone entity which looks at the key issues affecting philanthropy and the work of charities from a bit of a longer-term, bigger picture perspective. As I said, it's been going for nearly 2 years now. We've been steadily building up a body of work, of which this is just one piece. We've done reports comparing the culture of philanthropy in the UK and the US. We've done work looking at what the next decade holds for social investment. I've done some work looking at the impact of things like cryptocurrency and blockchain technology on charitable giving. My colleague Adam Pickering's also done a lot of really great work looking at the international context and the factors that affect charitable giving around the world. So it's kind of a broad spread of things, but with that common core of thinking about issues to do with philanthropy and charitable giving. And when it came to philanthropy specifically, I thought rightly or wrongly, what was needed was to take a bit of a step back for CAF and ask some slightly bigger picture questions, like what is philanthropy for in today's society? To what extent are some of the criticisms of philanthropy justified, and so on. I have to say I originally intended it to be just another report, because that's the format I normally work in, albeit it would have been a long one. But it quickly became clear that there was enough material for a book. And to CAF's eternal credit, they turned around and said, go on then, write a book. And so that's how we've ended up with what we've got here today. And the final piece of the puzzle for me, in terms of leading to the book you've actually hopefully got in your hands in front of me now, is the historical end. If you want a straightforward chronological history of philanthropy, the first chapter of the book does function as a reasonably okay potted history, I hope, in which I trace broad themes in the development of what you might call modern philanthropy. For example, looking at the gradual secularisation of giving following the Reformation, the growing desire amongst philanthropists for advice and information to guide their giving decisions, which is a very old trend, and the growing focus on being discriminating when it comes to giving. And also something like the shift from looking at philanthropy as something individuals do to a model of associated philanthropy, which is what gave rise to the idea of a charitable organisation that we know today. This mirrored the development in the private sector when people started to come together to form joint stock corporations. At the same time, people thought, hang on a minute, maybe we could all pool our money together philanthropically and have more of an impact that way. In some of the other chapters of the book, I move on from that. So in chapters 2 and 3, I look in detail at the shifting nature of the relationship between philanthropy and the state when it comes to welfare provision, and at the sometimes uneasy interplay between philanthropy and democracy, which again is a very live debate today. Then I also look at the wider role of philanthropy within society and some of the factors that have influenced it throughout history and today, such as attitudes towards wealth and the responsibilities that come with it, views about poverty and how they guide giving, and the importance of philanthropy as a tool for social status. And then chapter 5, which is maybe my favourite one, I look at some of the main criticisms that have been levelled at philanthropy through the ages and try and see what we can learn from them and how we might address them. So, what do I find from considering all of these different disparate areas? Well, you'll have to read the book to get the whole story, or I'll just give you all answers now. But I do just want to give you one example that feels particularly relevant at the moment, just as an example of why I think this approach does have a lot of merit. One theme that emerges very clearly in the book is the importance of the long tradition of campaigning by philanthropic organisations. And this is something that I know others in the room have focused on as well. Whilst the service delivery role of charities and charitable organisations is obviously very commendable, it really isn't the whole picture. They've always, from what I can see, combined attempts to address the symptoms of social causes through direct provision of services, with efforts to address the underlying causes by campaigning and advocating for change. And this is the only time I'm going to do this, but I just want to read a quick quote from within the book that I think is wonderful. I came across a quote from the report of the Nathan Committee in 1952, which was set up ostensibly to look at the law surrounding charitable trusts, but actually took a far more interesting look at the role of philanthropy and voluntary action in the period shortly after the welfare state was set up. And they said even back then, some of the most valuable activities of voluntary societies consist in the fact they are able to stand aside from and criticise state action or inaction in the interest of the inarticulate man in the street. This may take the form of helping individuals to know and obtain their rights. It also consists in a more general activity of collecting data about some point where the shoe seems to pinch or a need remains unmet. The general machinery of democratic agitation, deputations, letters to the press, questions in the House, conferences and the rest of it, may then be put into operation in order to convince a wider public that action is necessary, which seems to me like something that can be written in an article today. And given the increasingly sceptical attitudes that we are seeing at the moment from some politicians and some sections of the media towards the idea of charities engaging in campaigning, I think this is a message that's really worth reiterating. And particularly because it's not a phenomenon that is confined to the UK. All around the world at the moment, you may or may not be aware, there's quite a concerning trend for governments to try and curb the ability of not-for-profit organisations to speak out and challenge policy. In fact, it's such a well-established trend, it's got its own name, and they call it the closing space for civil society. And a lot of big international organisations and funders are very concerned about this. So I think that's an extremely important topic, and one that really demonstrates the value of looking at the historical evidence. It makes me think the history of philanthropy isn't just the story of long-dead donors and their gifts. It actually can tell you something meaningful about issues that are at stake right now. So to that end, and to kind of bring things back to the book, what I do in the book is put forward 8 broad principles that I suggest can guide policy making when it comes to philanthropy, that are based on looking at historical evidence and kind of considering how that relates to the key issues. People may or may not agree with those 8 principles, but I'm hopeful they will at least spark some debate, and I'd be really interested to hear what people think. And if all that sounds too worthy and heavy for you, don't worry. I should also say there are a lot of good anecdotes, hopefully, in the book. There's a series of case studies of individual philanthropists of the past and also of industries. So there's a look at philanthropy within the chocolate industry, philanthropy within the brewing industry, a great little story about a donor who made all of his money at the races and gave all that away to charity. Not that I'm suggesting that's a good way of doing things, but it's a good story. And lots of pictures, as you can see up here, including, well, it's one of them, there's some great political cartoons that I came across all about philanthropy that are very interesting and quite perceptive, I think. So my hope is that anyone interested in the wider historical, political and philosophical context around philanthropy will find something of interest in the book. So it only remains for me to say, please do make sure you get your copy. I hope you all enjoy reading it. Please do get in touch with me if you want to pick up one of the issues in the book, or if you want to take issue with any of the points in the book. And in the far shorter term, if anybody has any questions that they want to put to me in front of everyone else, please feel free to do that now. Otherwise, I will adjourn to over there, and please feel free